Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please keep enjoying your lunch. Thanks, everybody, for coming today. We've got a few different things to talk about. We're hoping that our volleyball coach, Michael Seaman, can make it here today, but we have a much better representative of the program anyway, Garyn Schlatter, and you're going to meet her in a little bit. But first, a few announcements. First of all, obviously, you're all pretty much aware we have a big basketball tournament this weekend. We'll talk with Coach Geving in a few minutes, but we will be playing basketball Friday, Saturday, and Sunday almost nonstop at the Stotts Center. The Viking men play at 5:30 on Friday night. The women follow immediately at 8 p.m. Sherry Merle was not able to be here today, so I'll just give you a quick update. Women's basketball, they did lose their opener. They're 0-1 right now, but they host Seattle on Friday night at 8 o'clock. That'll be the first of 4 straight at home. So they have a lot of home games coming up, just like the men. Big doings this weekend. Kobayashi, as you eat your lunch. Kobayashi, the hot dog eating champion, will be there this weekend on both Friday and Saturday. He will have no truth to the rumor that David Hirsch will challenge him in a hot dog eating contest. But David got him to come by, and I'm going to actually turn it over to David for just a moment because he has a number of promotions. Obviously, we're doing some different things this year for the basketball season, as you've seen and enjoyed hot dogs and such. But David's going to give you a little rundown on a few things that are going to happen. David Hirsch.
The basketball season really marks the beginning of the transition into the VAP experience. And it'll be, as you know, we came on board in the middle of the football season. Impossible to do anything for volleyball. Barely possible to do anything for what we have in mind for football. But basketball, we've at least had 6 weeks to get in the door and make a couple of changes to the Stotts Center. You'll see a couple more. And begin to see a different entertainment experience to go with already top flight programs. Kobayashi is the first one. He's going to compete Friday night between the games. All of the details haven't been worked out yet, but know that it will occur between the games, and we want people to see this. We want our students to participate in the challenge. We want other people to participate in the challenge. I know Coach Geving is going to participate in the challenge. And it will be literally how many hot dogs can be eaten during a specific period of time. And in the case of our students, there's going to be a little competition to whomever does the best on Friday night comes back and gets to challenge Kobayashi on Saturday night. And if Kobayashi can eat on 2 days, so can the student. So Kobayashi is just the beginning of what we think is a different entertainment experience. On the Portland versus Portland State game, December 7th, another halftime act. And you will notice then after, once conference play begins, you will see something different at halftime almost every single game. One of the acts is a guy that juggles chainsaws that was on the David Letterman show. We have another guy that disappears inside a balloon. We have the Seattle Seagulls coming into women's games, including the 2 that went to school here. And we're not just doing it on one night. If we bring in the Seagulls, for example, they're coming in on the Thursday game, February 6th, and they will also be there for the Saturday game, February 8th. Other entertainment acts, Berserk, Superstars, all of this to try to bring a new spirit and new energy into the Stotts Center. And that's something we're really determined to do in all of our athletics, but basketball is the first one we really get to tweak. So it's going to be some change. Like everything else about change, some you're going to like, some you're not. I have pretty thick skin. Just know we're trying to make this a better overall experience. And in some cases, for example, there's the tradition for so many of you to go down to the room downstairs for halftime snacks. Well, if we're going to have top-notch entertainment at halftime, we think you're going to want to see it. So we're going to tweak that program a little bit as well so that it becomes a better overall experience for our best fans. And we know we need to get more people in the buildings. That's what this is really all about. It's great having all of you at all of our functions, but we need an Army 20 times the size, 30 times the size, 40 times the size, and actually 400 times the size. And this is how it starts. So some of it you're not going to like. We ask for your indulgence. Know that it's part of building the bigger picture. We think you'll like more than you won't like.
I've seen a couple thousand, literally, Blazer games over the years because I happened to sit at press row there. And it was back in the Memorial Coliseum days. So I don't want to make you nervous, David. The chainsaw juggler was there. I kid you not. At halftime in the old Memorial Coliseum, he comes out and starts juggling chainsaws. And I'm about, from me to you, away from him. And he's juggling, and it was awesome until he missed. I am not kidding. He missed. Now, he didn't lose any limbs. But the chainsaw, that would have been a story. The chainsaw did hit the floor and bounced a couple times. And you can imagine what it did to the floor. Took big chunks of wood out of the surface. And he was so freaked out that when it happened, he stood there for a minute like this, and he literally ran off the court. And that was the end of the halftime show. And the Blazer staff had to come out and clean it all up, and then they brought the broom, and there were big chunks. And the players came out from halftime. They didn't know what had happened, and they walked out on the floor, and there's all these gouges and divots in the floor. And it was quite an experience. So hopefully his son, I assume you've hired his son, because this was almost 20 years ago that this happened, but his son is better at it. Well, since we're talking about basketball, let's go right into men's basketball. The Vikings are 1-1 right now. They do play this weekend. The tournament includes Loyola of Chicago, Southern Illinois, Edwardsville, and UC Davis. The Vikings play Loyola Friday, Southern Illinois Saturday, and Davis on Sunday. And we're going to turn it over for the health report, because there have been a lot of injuries, as you know, here early in the season, and find out what Tyler Geving has to say about that and about the teams coming to town.
Well, we did get a win the other night. That was good. I thought, obviously, we were playing a Division III team, and those are games you need to win. But I think Nigel and I had talked earlier in the year, when you play the Eastern Oregons or whoever you play, those games, sometimes you feel like you can't win. And I find myself getting more nervous for those games than I do the other ones, because when you're up 9 at the half and you felt like you should have been up about 20 or something, you can get tight in those games sometimes. But the second half, I thought we played really well defensively, and really played well defensively the whole game. So that's, like I said last week, that's something we've really tried to concentrate on and put more effort into as a team, and I think it's hopefully going to pay off this weekend. Exciting tournament this weekend. We got 3 really good teams coming in. We're all pretty, compatible, same level. Loyola of Chicago's in the Missouri Valley Conference, which is, similar to like a West Coast Conference team, Mountain West team. They are extremely talented on the defensive end. They're long, they're aggressive. They make it hard for you to score. Just watching video on them. On the flip side, they kind of want to keep it in a kind of the games in the 60s is what they want to do. So we got to try and pick the pace up on them a little bit and see if we can't get it up into the 70s and 80s. Because if we play at their pace, it's going to be pretty hard, I think, for us to come away with a win. So I think that game Friday night's a little bit more about who can kind of control the tempo. And if we can get it going a little bit, I think we'll have a good chance. And then the next night, we're playing Southern Illinois' Edwardsville, who's probably a little similar to us in that they want to get up and down. So it's going to be kind of contrasting styles 2 nights in a row. And then the third night against UC Davis, who's a very talented team in the Big West. They also like to get up and down. They want to score a lot of points. So it'll be interesting on that third day of just see who has energy, who's, I think depth's going to come into play quite a bit on the third straight day of games. Team-wise, health-wise, we're getting there. Aaron Moore's, he's back. No pun intended. He's back. He's had a good practice this last week. Probably could have played the other night. Moore just kind of keep him out just so he doesn't risk getting hurt. Gary Winston should be back too. He was probably borderline to play the other night. And once again, we just want to make sure everybody's healthy for this weekend. So that's good. I actually looked out at practice the other day, and we had 15 of our 17 guys out there practicing, so that was a good sign. The only one that we're still waiting on is Tigby Bamba, and we'll probably get him back 1st of December, work him into the mix, and hopefully have him ready for league play. And he'll definitely help us inside because, as you can see, when Aaron's out of the game, we end up starting Marcus Hall at the 4, so we're pretty small, and it kind of hurts us a little bit on rebounding. We gave up way too many offensive rebounds the other night, but getting Aaron back out there and obviously helps our depth. And the one kid I really wanted to talk about today that I'm really proud of is Brandon Cataldo. I think Brandon is just, here's a kid that's put in a lot of work over the last 3 years, and the other night he had some foul trouble, and kind of the way the game was going, I didn't feel like playing him the last 7-8 minutes and get some other guys some minutes. But he played 13 minutes, 8 points, 4 rebounds, and just really doing a really great job inside and playing with a lot more confidence. So excited about what he can do this weekend, and really looking forward to it. It's going to be interesting. We've kind of played UNLV, who's a top 25 team, and then we've played a Division III team. So you're kind of you don't really know where you're at, and I think this weekend will kind of give us a good barometer of kind of where we're going as we get ready for January. But the main thing is getting everybody healthy and getting them back out on the floor, and then just trying to blend everything together. So, questions, comments? Yes.
They're calling. Referees are calling fouls
A lot.
The second they touch them with their hand.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, they're trying to put more emphasis on scoring. So anytime you impede somebody from going to the basket or put a hand on them, foul. And you're starting to see it. If you look at the box scores, there's a lot of free throws in a lot of these games. Guys are, I think if anybody watched the Husky Eastern Washington game last night, I think the Huskies got to the free throw line like over 40 times. I mean, it was just Eastern was in foul trouble. They just lower their head, go to the rim, foul. That's all they did the whole second half. So I think you got to have a lot of depth, and I think what you're going to see is a lot more teams play zone. So if you're not really a zone team and you haven't done that in the past, I think it kind of hurts the teams that are aggressive on defense.
All right, we'll move along and talk a little bit about volleyball. The volleyball team obviously won a huge match on Thursday night. Beat North Dakota and tied for first place, and won again, of course, on Saturday. And now I believe they've won about 8 in a row, 7 in a row. Okay, 7 in a row, tied for first place going into the final week of the season. And it's really a very exciting time, in particular to see them playing this well, knowing that we're going to get to host that tournament over Thanksgiving weekend. And that is going to be a great moment. And I know it's going to be a great moment for this next person that you're going to meet here. Garyn Schlatter is a senior on the volleyball team. And, I was looking at her bio this morning. I was thinking, well, I'm going to pick out a few things to talk about. And I looked, and if you go on GoVikes.com and you look at her bio, the list of achievements are about this long. And all the awards she's won, the honors, and everything she's done for the program over the last 4 years is truly remarkable. And you think about how successful this program has been the last 4 years. Well, Garyn is basically the quarterback. I mean, to make an analogy, as a setter and for the team, she's basically the quarterback and runs all that on the court. So instead, I thought of what could I say about her? And I thought, well, Garyn has probably been with the Portland State volleyball program as long as anybody in history. And by that I mean her mother, some of you may know, played at Portland State, played on the 1984 national championship team, Terry Jo. Then she became an assistant coach at Portland State. When I first started working at Portland State, to about 20 years ago, well, longer ago than she was alive, let's put it that way. Terry Jo was an assistant coach. Well, Terry Jo had a baby, and she would bring that baby to practice. And they would put the baby in the ball cart. They'd fill it with volleyballs, and this little baby would sit up in the cart like this and watch practice. And I would come in, And I would watch a little practice from time to time, and I'd go over to the cart, who doesn't love a baby, and I'd pat the little baby on the head. Well, that's the little baby right there. And I was relating this to Garyn, because I don't work with volleyball. I don't know her that well now. Obviously I know her, but I don't know her that well now. I related that to her a little bit earlier, and I thought, boy, that probably kind of creeps her out now to think about that. But so Garyn has been with the program now for 22 years. And I'm very happy to introduce to you, she's our featured athlete of the week, Garyn Schlatter.
Well, I'm Garyn. As he said, we've, I guess, been friends since I was a baby. So this is my last year here. I'm going to graduate in the spring with a degree, double major in community health and physical activity and exercise. This last couple matches, I'm sure a lot of you saw them. They were just really fun, and it was really special on Saturday, which was senior night. The 6 juniors we have and 2 freshmen. They just really showed us a lot of love and support, and they decorated our locker room with streamers and balloons everywhere. They got us some really, really, thoughtful gifts, wrote us some personal letters and stuff. So it was just a really fun way to end our last weekend, my last weekend, I guess, of home play. So looking forward to this next weekend in Idaho and Weber, and hopefully we can come out with a couple good wins and have a good spot for the tournament.
Who was senior night harder on you or your mom?
Oh, my mom, yeah. Yeah. When she had to walk out there, I think she realized it had been a long time since she'd been there and doing that same thing, so yeah. But it was fun. I'm sad my sister couldn't be there. She plays at Montana State, so she had a game that day, but the rest of them were there, so that was cool.
What are the plans after graduation?
Well, this summer I'm getting married, and yeah, so I have to plan that sometime. To Kyle McMillan, he played for Coach Burton a couple years ago. He was the tight end. So and after that, he lives down in Central California right now, so I'm probably going to end up down there for a little bit and kind of see where things go. Hopefully go to grad school and grow up.
You've basically been in this situation 4 years in a row in terms of conference championship level play and possibly getting the NCAA tournament. Any different feeling this year as opposed to the other years, or in terms of your chances or how the team has come together?
I think this year is going to be really interesting because we have almost the exact same team as we had last year, so we're a lot closer. We know how to work together with each other. We know how to help each other. So I think going into this tournament, we've all been in the game and experienced what it's like to be there, so we kind of know what it takes to get where we want to go. So I think that'll be a good thing for this weekend.
Okay, obviously when we're done, feel free to take a moment to say hello to Garyn. We'll move on to football, and I want to talk about, I'm going to do this off the top of my head. Yesterday was the football awards banquet, and I'm going to run through it. DJ Adams was named the team's most valuable player, as well as the top offensive back, no surprise there, and the most inspirational player. The most valuable offensive lineman this year was Mitchell Van Dyke. Most valuable defensive lineman was Bryant Long. The most valuable defensive back, Dean Faddis. Special teams player of the year, no surprise there, Kyle Loomis. Scout team player of the year was Stephen Long. How am I doing, Coach? The Mike Shrunk Award winner for academic success, Mitch Galkey, and of course the Charles Withers Award went to a couple of great people, Mike and Annie Chisholm, for all their contributions to our football program. I think I got them all. Okay, going into this week, playing Eastern Washington in the Dam Cup. And I want to let everyone know, and anybody that might watch this video online, there's a great new website just started today. It's called damcup.com. And it's a way for fans from Eastern Washington and Portland State to engage in the Cup and take part in some things with regard to social media. I went on it yesterday, and I played Space Invaders for the first time in 30 years. You can play Space Invaders on this website, and you can shoot little Eastern Washington Eagles as they go by. I'm not kidding you. It's really cool. They've set up a really neat site. Anyway, it's for fan engagement to get more fans involved and more people supporting the programs, the coaches, the teams, everything. Really, trust me, you'll get a kick out of it. It's called damcup.com. So check that out when you get a chance. So anyway, that football game this Saturday is at 2:45 at Eastern Washington. It is on Root Sports television. So if you happen to be at home, you can watch Root Sports television here, and you can go to watch Big Sky over here, and you can watch the basketball game. So you can have two screens going. If you go to the basketball game, then you can bring along your radio, and you can listen on the radio to the football game. Obviously, lots of things going on still in Portland State athletics. And right now we're going to move on and talk to our head coach, Nigel Burton. Obviously, we come off of a really tough loss. It was an extremely exciting game we had, but we will move ahead and try to get that big upset this week at Eastern Washington.
I'd like to join the I Know Garyn party. I haven't known her since she was a toddler, but she has dated one of our old tight ends, Kyle McMillan, for a number of years, and so they asked. It was pretty cool. In the end, I'm sure boosters and supporters don't want to hear this, but I don't really coach for the wins. I coach for the kids. That's my motivation. That's the thing that I enjoy, what gets me up every morning and deal with the ups and the downs. And Kyle was one of our players who his first year was a JC transfer. In his first year, I told him I thought he was very comfortable. He found a new girlfriend and life was lovely, and he was contributing nothing on the field. And we had a very, very hard conversation. And that moment, the light came on for him, and he was a great contributor to our team as a senior. He was a leader, and here goes a moment where a young man was on our team, probably didn't like me for at least that conversation. I know he didn't. And by the time he left, when he was leaving campus after his graduation, he was in tears because he didn't want to go. And they've asked my daughter Ella to be a flower girl in their wedding, and so that's why you do it. And so we're working on that. She can be a little shy, so we're doing some practice rounds. Obviously the last game, getting into football, the last game was obviously disappointing. And I think there's some disappointment in the fact that right now we're 6-5, and I actually think that's an awesome thing, because I think when we walked in the door, 6-5 people would have been doing cartwheels, and I think in the end you only get great by first being good, and you only get good by raising the level of expectations. If you expect little of yourself, you get little. If you expect great things, sometimes you may fall short of those great things, but you will get good things. And I look at, yesterday when we had our team banquet, we don't have many seniors. We had, like I said, 115 guys on the team, only 16 seniors, and that's counting Dean Faddis, who's coming back next year, and Samaje Harris, who hasn't ever played at Portland State. He's been a student coach, so it was really 14. And with those guys standing up there, I kind of look down, and I'm going to tell you a coaching secret, okay? I've been coaching long enough that every now and again you get a group of guys coming through, and you look at them and you're like, you know what, good players, but I'm not going to exactly shed a tear when these guys leave, because they're a hard group. When those 14 guys stood up there in front, I looked down at one of the best group of young men that I've ever been associated with. Not just football players like, DJ Adams, who's probably going to get a chance to play in the NFL, and some of those guys, but just character-wise, the kind of people that they are. And the hard part for our team is going to be replacing their leadership, even though they weren't very great in number. So that's the thing that we're going to have to jump off with now. In the end, like I said, we walked in the door. I think we would have been happy with any win, let alone 6. Now we're winning games by 40, and people are mad. We're winning games by 26, and people are upset. You win 6 games, people are like, eh. And I think that's awesome, because you can't be great unless the level of expectation of your team, yourselves, your fan base, all those things start to rise. I know that we've improved everything from facilities, the football office, academically, our GPA, our APR, recruiting, having the #1 class in the country a few years ago, which all those guys are just redshirt freshmen right now, and everything, alumni involvement, which I think a lot of the alumni players talked about yesterday at the banquet, and more importantly, record. The record has improved. So now what we've got to do is figure out how do you go from good to great and taking that next step, and that's going to be the next challenge for our program. We still have a huge game against Eastern Washington. There's not one person on our team or within our program or who's watched any of our last couple of games with Eastern who concedes anything. Last time we were on the red turf, that was a pretty good day for the old Vikes. And we took care of business. Last year when we played them, I don't think our team was nearly as the team that we have now, and we took them down to the brink, and they had some pretty good players who were all seniors. So we understand the challenge that's ahead, but we also feel good about our chances, and if we play our game and eliminate some of the silly mistakes that I think cost us towards the end and execute in the special teams game. So we feel good about it, and we look forward to it being the jumping off for next season and sending our seniors out the right way. So I was hoping old Tommy Hugh was here because the wide open thing, I was like, yeah, that didn't really look like that. Matter of fact, there were times, and you know what, and that's one thing we talked to our team about after the game was we've done an excellent job in the secondary in particular this year of making plays. We've got the guy who leads the conference interceptions. I think we have 2 or 3 of the top 10 guys in terms of pass breakups. So to have a game where we had guys double covered and a guy make a play on them, which happened 3 different times in critical moments of the game, and we felt as though they had a quarterback who was a big-time player. He was the Big Sky Player of the week before, Garrett Saffron, who made some unbelievable throws and some things, and it was good for them. But those guys expect more of themselves, and the best part about it is, minus David Edgerson, the entire group is back next year. So I think they have very lofty expectations of themselves.
Travis gets to play next year?
Yeah, Dean will be back next year. He's got there's the rule about 6 years. He gets a 6th year because he had 2 complete years lost to injury. And so our head athletic trainer is back there, so no pressure, Randy Logan. So, we have everything documented and ready to go. And now it's just a matter of getting him into grad school, but that's not tough because he's a 3.6 student. We got a little beat up. The last 3 weeks have been different than I think. We've been able to stay relatively healthy. We hit that span. I think we were worn out against Cal Poly, and then we started to get a little beat up. Then we got back, and then losing Rawson Tatum and Alex Toreen really hurt us. So we're a little beat up going in this last one, but once again, no pressure. Keep all the trainer questions coming because that's the guy. And but it's not hard to sell a senior on tape it up, rub some dirt on it, and do what you got to do because it's your last shot, and it'll be done. So Paris is, the tough part with Paris these last couple of weeks was he injured his throwing shoulder, and so if it was his non-throwing shoulder, he'd have played the last 2 weeks. Being your throwing shoulder and the amount of velocity that he'd have to make throws with and some things. So we had him available in an emergency situation last game, but with Colin throwing for almost 300 yards and us having the amount of offense that we didn't feel like we needed to break that glass. But he'll travel with us and he'll be available for Eastern. Garyn had played the first half of the season with 2 bum shoulders, which really helped. It was one of the reasons that we said, sit down, get healthy. I think the 2 weeks that Colin played well and we got the wins allowed him to get healthy, put him in, and he ended up dinging his elbow, his throwing elbow. Nothing too serious. I'm not even sure how much of this stuff I'm supposed to talk about. So he'll be available. It was just one of those things. Matter of fact, we had a critical 4th down, and it was kind of like, let's just go back to Colin. We were able to convert it, and he was playing well, so we decided not to mess with it. I would say it was kind of a perfect storm of a few things. One, they abandoned the run game, so they just started chucking it. And for every play we made, like you guys recognize, guys are double covered, and the guy would make one. And then, we lost Dean for about 2 series, and that's when 2 quick touchdowns happened when Dean was out, which motivated him to tape it up and get back out there. And We also started 2 true freshmen, and sometimes freshmen do freshman stuff. And there's a kid named Xavier Coleman who I'm telling you will be a superstar. And I've held him back all year, even though he's really been playing well, and we've given him a little bit more, and he's done better, and a little bit more, and he's done better. And he got in trouble once or twice. But sometimes you got to roll with those punches. But he will be a special, special football player. And I'm not going to say he's going to be the next Julius Thomas, but it's a similar story. He's a basketball player, hasn't played very much in his life, and so you kind of have to. So we tried to hold those lessons until we had to kind of let him go this week, and so he'll be one.
Field goal kicking has been a nemesis for us this year.
Yeah.
So what are your plans for Easter?
It does. It's right. It does change your play calling, no doubt about it. There's a point where, when you watch a guy in pregame hit from 55, 4 out of 5, because we chart it, and then all of a sudden you're missing from 27. You're like, dude. And so it's a little bit like my golf game. When I'm by myself, I'm pretty good. And all of a sudden, it's me and Tommy and Jack Garrison. I can't hit the broadside of a barn. So, I think you stick with him and you see how he feels that day, and you give him one shot. And if he's able to execute, you keep going. And if he's not, then you've got to change the way you call a game. And it's tough. It's hard. Because there's no doubt I wouldn't have gone for 4th down at that situation. I'd have kicked the field goal. But he was struggling that day. So, I think there's certain things that trust me, I think of a lot of things during games. I actually think about you guys sometimes. I think to myself, how am I going to answer this question? I'm serious. I'm not kidding. I mean, I do. I think, how would I answer the question of why DJ Adams isn't on the field on 4th and 1 when he ran for 249 yards? Take the timeout. Because I can answer that one. I can answer why he's in, but that'd be hard for me to answer why he wasn't. How do you answer not kicking a field goal from 35 yards or 40 yards? Well, the guy had missed 2 that were well within his range. I wasn't willing to roll those dice, and I felt like if you've got 700 yards of total offense, you should be able to get 6 inches. And so I'm comfortable with that answer. And so, in the end, if you don't like making the big decisions, don't take the big chair. Well, I think this is the last week that you guys are stuck with me. No, Alexis already said this was the last one, so no way. Anyway, but I really want to say how much I appreciate seeing the same faces every week, your dedication to our program, your support of our program. I can't tell you enough. And so we're going to be hitting the streets next week recruiting to try to bring in. It's going to be a small class, so I don't know how it'll get ranked, but it's coming together as another one of those top, whoa kind of classes. And so we're going to try to finish it off, and hopefully maybe Dave will let me come back and say hello to you guys and tell you how recruiting's going. But I did want to make sure that I said thank you so much for your dedication and support. So thank you.
Nigel actually brought up one really important thing, and being a person that works around a program and not in the program like the coaches, I really want to acknowledge probably the hardest working person on the staff. And he's been in Portland for 3 months, and I don't think he's even seen the city yet, and that is the trainer, Randy Logan. Recently hired to be the football trainer, and the hours he puts in, you have no idea, dealing with all the injuries in football. But anyway, he's done a great job this year, and just starting new here at Portland State, and also video coordinator over here, Wes Warren. So these are the guys that support the football program and do a great job. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We'll look forward to seeing you at the basketball tournament this weekend, and go Vikes.